The Wende Neen Show. Now here's your host, Wende Neen.
Hey, welcome back to the Wende Neen Show. I am your host, Wende Neen. As you can see, yes, my co-host is missing. She's a little under the weather. Britt with 2 T's, as she would put it. But we will want to give her a good shout out to Britt with 2 T's. She'll be back with us next time. I am so excited because I got so many special guests in the studio today. I'm not going to even tell you yet. I got a few announcements I want to make. And you hear my song. Rondo, what you doing? You trying to get me hyped over there?
A little bit.
Well, you know what? It's working. Alright, I am going to try to settle down here. But first, anyway, let me sit down here and tell you all about a few things. Uh-oh, I'm cruising. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, Rondo, calm it down. Let's set it down. Alright, I want to talk about first treachery. Those of you who remember, we got Wende Neen Productions, and this is the pilot DVD. So if anyone is interested in getting one, certainly reach out to me. You know how to reach me on Twitter. That's at Wende Neen Show. And then, of course, follow me on Instagram, and that's at Wende Neen Show. Facebook, Wende Neen Show /productions. And that's where you can kind of see a little bit of it. But if you want your personal copy, hey, hit me up. I'll make it happen. Go on Vimeo.com also, and you can check it out. That's Vimeo.com/Wende Neen. And then you can see all the copies as well. Now, the pilot episode kind of gives you a basis of everything that's going on, why it's happening. So it's a little bit longer than the other ones. And then the characters, of course, is Drake, Christy, and Dylan. And then on our episode 1, it gets pretty deep. That one is pretty interesting. It leads you at the end to, ooh, you're like, what the heck is going to happen next? And I'm not going to tell you if you haven't seen it yet. Now, Drake is on the set today. He happens to be in the audience out there. So Drake, on episode 2, you had quite an ending there. What do you think's going on? What's going to happen?
I'll just let the viewers find out.
That's what I'd say. So that means you really need to get a copy of Treachery 2 and find out about what happens to Drake. Whew, because he got a whole lot of what? Treachery going on. All right. Without further delay, I am so excited to have this special guest in my studio today. And I am going to bring him out. Let me get my little notes here and tell you a little bit about. He is a freelance writer and a poet. He defied all stereotypes. He's an ex-jock, a gridiron hero, and he's from the inner city. And he writes about love, life, and passion. His first poetry book is titled Rhythm in My Blues. Please welcome with me to the Wende Neen Show, Damon E. Johnson. Yay, Damon!
How you doing?
I am great. Have a seat. Welcome to the Wende Neen Show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I am happy to have you here.
Good.
Now, just so that everyone out there in the Wende Neen Show audience aware, Damon and I actually went to high school together.
That's right. That's correct.
We were in homeroom. And it's so funny because seeing you now, I have these flashbacks of remembering seeing you walk in because you actually sat to the right. And I sat kind of in the middle like. And I remember seeing you come in and you have not changed.
Well, you haven't changed either. I think we, I don't know if it's something in the water or whatnot, but we, it's just, good living.
I guess that's what it is.
It gotta be, but definitely, it's good to see you.
Same here, most definitely. Okay, I want to talk, because I am so excited to hear about you being a writer of poetry.
Yes.
And it's so amazing to me because my memories of you, of course, is on that football field.
Oh.
I mean, you were setting records left and right. I mean, you were a true athlete.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that was one of my passions as well, playing sports. You know, I grew up, you know, especially, you know, in the inner city in Atlanta, you know, sports was always big.
Right.
And I was blessed with, you know, with some height and, you know, talent.
Most definitely.
To play football, basketball, and just other sports. So, you know, in that area, I've achieved a lot in that area as well. So, you know, it was good, definitely. But the actual writing part was something that, you know, that was a part of me that developed in high school, but something that did not come out until later on because
Right.
football was the thing, and basketball as well. So.
That's interesting. So tell me, when you said it was always there back in high school. So why didn't it come out then?
Well, I think you know, I started out I have a deep passion for music. You know, I just love music, and you know, think I can, you know, hold a tune a little bit, whatever. You know, because growing up, you know, that's what you know, that's what you do. You know,
Wow.
you play sports, and you know, you think you know, you can be an entertainer or something of that nature. And so I started out actually writing. Thought I was, you know, was writing songs and some different things, and I got into poetry at that level, and writing some different things and putting stuff together. And I think it was about in 10th grade when it really kind of, you know, started reading poetry books and different other things, and it really just caught on. The reason why it didn't come out because at that time, you know, I don't think we were, and maybe I'll speak for myself. I didn't think that people were mature enough to think that an athlete could do something other than play sports, and not just from not that he couldn't do academics, but if he talked about something like poetry, which is something that people didn't understand. Poetry is something that is about words and feelings, and a lot of people didn't want to be in touch with their feelings.
Right.
And fortunate for me, I was in touch with mine, so I was able to put some things down as a way of communicating my feelings on paper, but at the same time keeping it to myself.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to, didn't want to be ridiculed or anything like that. At least that's what I thought would happen.
Right.
And so I didn't do that.
Okay. So at what point, because I know you went on after high school, you went on to Savannah State.
Well, actually, I got a scholarship. I went to Western Kentucky University.
Okay.
I was there a couple of years, and then I transferred
To Savannah
State.
Okay.
I got down in Savannah maybe, I think winter '87 is when I got down to Savannah.
Now, don't put those years out there. We don't want to tell our age.
You're looking so good. You might as well tell them. That's what you do. To brag.
Oh, okay.
You don't.
All
They
right.
can do the math, but they can't look like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's true too. You got a point there. But let's still forget what
when I was there last year.
Exactly. We'll put it like that. All right. So you went on then to college. So at what point did you really feel, okay, I need to share this with the world, that I'm a poet, I'm a writer?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I did not consider myself a poet at that time. Mm-hmm. I considered myself as a person who had a way with words. If someone was in, and let's be frank. Most of when you write and you're a poet, you start off with feelings and different things, but a lot of stuff centers around your ability to communicate.
Right.
And so if you wanted to talk to a young lady, you just didn't want to come up and say, hey,
right.
How you doing? I play football, whatever. You try to have a dialogue that's special.
Right.
And so you try to create, different ways to communicate. And so that's what you would do. And to me, that was poetry. Just being able to, say some things that somebody else wasn't saying.
Right.
To separate yourself from everybody else.
Exactly.
And so, it's easy to lean on your supposedly celebrity, but at the same time, you're going to have to be able to communicate. And so you look for those ways to communicate. And so while I was, dabbling in writing, I never really considered myself a poet, but there were times where I put things together and things just came to me and I wrote them down, and sometimes I shared them with, some young ladies or some different things, might write it in a birthday card or something,
Oh, my
something of
goodness.
that nature,
Right.
and that would be the extent of my sharing.
Right.
So that individual may know, that I could write, or there's some things from that standpoint. But other than that, I didn't go out to share. It never, reared its head
Yeah.
until later on, and that was how that came about. Just during that time, it was just strictly football.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like Damon had his writing game on for the ladies.
It's I tried, and even now, part of the, maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself in the interview, but part of that passion or that type of thing spills into the writing that I do now too.
Okay.
Because I'm, not that I'm not writing for the men as well, because I try to give them an example or some things. You don't have to say what I said per se, but if you're in that realm,
Right.
you'll be successful with communication.
Okay.
And so, but I want to appeal. My ultimate appeal is trying to tap into some of the emotions that the women have, and some
Okay.
different situations that they may go through.
Exactly.
And so, and to try to say certain things in a way that they can appreciate.
Exactly.
And so, that's where we are right now with my writing. So even though I do other, types of poems and different things, but my target is really the intimate passion type of poetry.
Okay. There is something that I read, and I wrote it down because I want to make sure I get it right, that really kind of stuck with me, and I really want to understand it because I thought it was pretty deep. You said, I was born the instant I picked up a pen. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Well, that's a line from a poem that I wrote, and one of the questions I always get from different people, because they only know me like you did from playing football,
Right.
and you tell them, or they see that you have a book out or whatever, they, oh man, where did this come from? Just like it just came out of the blue. And I told, I was telling everybody it was always there,
Right.
but how I got there is that one of the to explain how it got there is that when you have all these different emotions, and I think everybody, go through different things, and one good outlet is to be able to write it,
Right.
or might have some feelings about something, and when there's no one around for you to tell them to, where did they go? They just either stay in your head or you're gonna write them down.
Right.
And so when I was, I think I was probably maybe in the maybe 10th grade, and I started, writing and having some different feelings about different things, life, and maybe a young lady you like, or some different things. You're never gonna say this, but you write it down. That way it gets out.
Right.
And so once I started writing, once I started communicating with the paper, and that's what I call it, communicating. I'm writing to the paper,
Right.
and I'm getting these feelings out. I just found myself becoming born. The instant that I started letting it go,
Okay.
and then this lets me know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
Even though I kept it a secret, but it's a gift,
Right.
and it's a gift, and I knew at some point I was going to have to do what God had ordained me to be able to do. It's a gift, and it's not something that I just, I rather would have played 15, 20 years in the league and, playing ball and doing some different things. But, that's what I would, when I was younger, that's what I think I wanted to do.
Right, of
But
course.
this is what I was, this is what my gift and what I was supposed to be doing. And I was born the instant
Okay.
that I really decided to start writing this stuff down. And I realized that's when that career or that particular talent was being born at that point. And so
Okay.
that's what that means from that standpoint,
That's
from
pretty
that poem.
deep.
So I put that in that poem to let everyone know. And that's the first poem that's in my book. It's called Dying and Being Born, Dying to Be Reborn.
Wow.
And that's the first poem that's in the book. And it explains, how we got to this point.
Okay.
And then everything else that flows after that.
Dying to be born and dying to be reborn. I like that. Definitely look for that. You mentioned at some point you signed with the Rams.
Yes, I signed as a free agent with the Rams in '90. After I got through playing my college years. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me at that point. I was battling with some injuries and things, and I just didn't get to play long. But I relished the experience to have gotten that far and to share some of the opportunities with some of the guys that were there at the time.
Right.
And it was a good experience, and a good signature end to a great career in playing ball. So, but I'm so fortunate to have had my academics and different things to fall back on.
Absolutely.
Because that would have been wouldn't have ended well if I that's all that I had on my plate at the time. So
Exactly.
so I was happy for that. But it was a good time during that time.
Okay. So we all know growing up, I mean, and nowadays, even with the females, with the WNBA existing and all that, that's kind of what we dream about, is being an athlete, getting paid, being on TV, the commercials, and all these deals. What can you tell some of the young people out there in terms of advice on that balance, the importance of that, being you had this to fall back on? Obviously, you say you had the little injury. What would you say to them, since you've kind of been there?
I would say to them what I would say to any young person now, like I used to. I've had an opportunity to speak to a lot of young students, middle school age. I think that's a crucial time in their lives when they're thinking about some different things that they want to do.
Right.
And I always talk to the young men. It applies to the young ladies as well, but the young men, because they really just throw all their everything behind trying to play sports.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
But I try to convey to them that I've gone to that level. I managed to stay injury free all the way up until my very last year of college.
Right.
And so but you have to have something to fall back on. There has to be something that interests you more than sports. Because if something, and heaven forbid something happened and they get injured, break a leg or injure an ankle, shoulder, and they're not the same athlete before, when you look at that as being a career and you have those type of misfortune, no one at that level really cares about whether or not you have anything to fall back on. What they care about is that you don't have anything to offer us right now.
Exactly.
And so we can't spend any time or money or invested in you when you're not the whole person you were, or you're not able to contribute.
Exactly.
And you may not never get that opportunity. I mean, there's a million, football players out there, and there's only 50-some slots on the team now. So you're gonna keep trying and trying and trying, or you're gonna have something else to fall back on.
Right.
And I try to tell them, I think they're impressed that I played ball and I did this stuff, but I think it's important that I drive home why you need to have something to fall back on.
Absolutely.
But keep your dreams. That you always really want to be able to achieve in anything that you're doing, but you need to understand how this whole thing works, and that cannot dominate your whole train of thought.
Right.
So I let them know that. And like I said, it works for the young ladies, but they usually don't have much problem with the young ladies because they're usually academically sound
Right.
when they are playing sports.
Exactly.
And so they, when you think about the WNBA, as you mentioned, a lot of them graduate with their degrees before they go play.
Absolutely.
Most of the men in basketball, football, and any other sport, they just go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
And they never, really
Go
think
back
about
and
it.
get it.
They may go back and take a course here, a course there, but for the most part, a lot of them don't go back. And so if something was to happen, they don't have anything to fall back on. But not just from an academic standpoint, there's some other things that I'm sure people are talented enough to be able to do. So it cannot begin and end with basketball or football or baseball or whatever. It has to be some other things that you are passionate about,
Right.
that you can get involved in too. And so I try to tell them that. And I think it goes over pretty well when you talk to them about it. Really draw them in a little bit.
Exactly. Okay. Who inspired you, or did anyone?
I've been inspired by a lot of people. I'm glad you asked me that, because it's important to when the first person that inspired me is my mom.
Okay.
My mom used to write poetry, and I remember she used to write little things in the cards she used to send me, give me, or just little things she used to say, and so she inspired me from that standpoint. my 11th grade English teacher, Miss Smith, inspired me as well. Miss Smith was the first person that would not allow you to turn in a paper that had words in them that were so simplified. It's like, she wanted you to at least find other ways, because all your papers say the same thing. It just be different subjects.
Right.
And you say it the same way, and you do it whatever. She challenged me. She gave me a dictionary and said, look, find some more words to use. You got to be able to expand your vocabulary. And by doing that, I started, looking in the dictionary, and I started finding words that I said, this mean the same thing as these two words mean exactly the same thing. So I'm gonna start trying to do this.
Right.
And that's how I started. When I started writing, start putting together my little notes to say to people whatever. I started using some words. That's how you sound more intelligent when you start using those words. But and she inspired me from that standpoint.
Okay.
And so, but from a poetic in poetry, Langston Hughes, love Langston Hughes.
Yes.
Nicka Giovanni, love Nicka Giovanni. I mean, just Maya Angelou.
Oh wow.
Just
Absolutely.
those poems, and they were deep, and they had one thing about their poetry. Their poetry had life. It's like the words jump off the paper, and whether they were talking about things that were happening in the late 50s, early 60s, or they were talking about things in the 70s or whatever. The words draw you in, and they tell a story as only they can do it. All three poets are very different in their own capacities, but they're very impactful. The words are still impactful, and I love it. I love it, and I read it all day. I think I have pretty much everything they've written. And matter of fact, I have poems dedicated to them in my portrait.
Oh wow.
All three of them actually is in this book.
Okay.
Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes, and Nicka Giovanni. I have a poem for each one of them in my book.
Interesting.
But they're the three main ones. But I also like some later Billy Collins, Mary Oliver, some different type of writers, and not just one particular genre or one particular race. Just all poetry in general. I love it.
Right.
We can go back to Shakespeare in high school.
Exactly.
That I like. So I'm just I'm a poetry person, so I enjoy that.
Okay. Tell me this, and you may have to think about it for a second. Damon E. Johnson, Rhythm in My Blues is your first book. So I'm sure there's going to be more to come, and certainly I'm sure there's a lot of poetry in there. What is it that you want everyone to remember about your poetry, your writing? Just the one thing that you just want. When we hear Damon E. Johnson, this is what comes to mind.
When, let me think about that for a second. When someone reads my poetry, what I want for them to be able to do is to be able to say, he must have, read some of my notes, or somehow he peeked through my window at night, or somewhere. How did he know I felt like that?
Wow.
How did he know I was feeling this way? This poem is mine.
Yes.
He wrote this for me.
I like that.
That tells my story.
Right.
Because what it does is I believe that everybody has a story. That's just whether or not you're willing or have the confidence to tell it.
Right.
And so if I could find you in my portrait, if my portrait can find you, can touch you in a way to make you say, hey, that, I need to let my story go. I need to, or I'm going to utilize this poem as it's going to be my anthem. It's going to be something that, because it's speaking about things that I'm passionate about.
Right.
I want to find them, and I keep writing. I say, if I can't find you in this poem, I'll find you in another poem. But I'm going to find you. And that's the difference between what I want to be, because I recognize that a lot of people are not poetry people. But I've had people tell me, say, I'm not a poetry person. But when I read your poetry, it just resonates with me.
Wow.
Because poetry within itself can be complex sometimes, and a lot of people don't like to think that deep.
Right.
And so what I try to do is give you a deep poem, but say it in a way that it becomes like regular reading.
Right.
So you just read it just as if you was just reading your mail or something that you had. Okay. But it packs a wallet.
Right.
Even if it's just 4 sentences, it says something.
Okay.
And so I try to do that, but I try to find people. And so a lot of the poems that I'm writing, a lot of them are not from personal experience. It comes from my thoughts from different situations that may occur in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know people dealing with heartache. I know they're dealing with loss. I know they're dealing with relationship issues. I know they're dealing with different things. And so, can I write a poem that would fit those types of situations and those types of feelings? And so I want people to connect with me from that level. And so that's how I do that.
I truly like that. That's awesome. Okay. I see you have Rhythm in My Blues.
I do. I have
Tell
this
us-
for you.
Oh, really?
Yes, I
Oh,
have
my
this for you.
goodness. I am flattered. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have my own personal copy. That's all right. So, where can they find? Oh, and it's autographed.
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
You're very
Damon.
welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Tell everyone out there in the audience, where can they find your book?
Currently, you can find my book on. This book was published by Author House, so you can find it on authorhouse.com or
Okay.
Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
Wow.
You know, you can also go through my website and go to those three particular sites through my website to get the book. RhythmInMyBlues.com is my website.
Okay, remember that, rhythminmyblues.com.
And if you just happen, if somebody just happened to see me out and about, you know, always ask me. I always carry some copies on me, so you know,
Definitely.
you know, that's where you can get it quicker. But
Okay, so certainly I'm going to read it. But tell me, what can I expect from
I'm
Rhythm
telling you,
in My Blues?
what you can expect? You can expect some thought-provoking poems. What I put together, there are several different types of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
There's free verse, where you just write, and it has a rhythm, but nothing rhymes.
Okay.
It's just free verse.
Right.
There has rhyme poems that, you know, that would rhyme, but what I call a play on words. So you just do different poems that way. It will have some sensual poems that talks about love, life, different things, and so I put them all together. I put it all together in different things. So you have a different. So I'm going to find somebody in this first book of poetry. I'm going to find somebody. There's going to be some poems there that are really thought-provoking, poems that talk about different situations about life, racism, and different other stuff. But there's going to be some different poems that talk about just social consciousness type poems, but mostly it's going to be more passion type of poem, love type poetry. Like I said, I'm going to find somebody somewhere
Right.
in this poetry.
You think I'm in here?
Huh?
You think I'm in
I'm quite
here?
sure you're in there. I'm quite sure you're in there. I know there's some uplifting type poems too.
Right.
There. I try to, in this first book of poem, what I try to do, when the title within itself, there's a poem titled Rhythm in My Blues in there.
Okay.
And so I took that title for the book. But one of the things that the book indicates with the Rhythm in My Blues is that you still can dance even though you're going through something.
Wow.
You know, so you still have rhythm, no matter what you're going through. And so in there, no matter what anybody's going through, I'm writing a poem with rhythm in it that speaks to your situation. And so, I'm gonna find somebody. That's why I want to find them, because I need people's support. Because even though they're not, poetry is a very intimate thing, but it's not something that's very, very popular in reading. It doesn't take it doesn't take well like a lot of the novels, the different passionate novels and different things. But and see, I can read one of those and create a whole book of poetry just off that.
Okay.
Those situations, those type of things that happen within that book. And so I want people to understand that my book of poetry is at a level to where you really can get into it,
Right.
and read it it'll flow just as easy as any book you're reading, but it's gonna leave you with something
Okay.
to be desired. And so hopefully, as I work on my next book coming out, this will be a great start.
How soon is the next one coming?
I don't know. I'm hopefully at the beginning of next year. I do have right now a writer, and everybody will tell you that writer. The first thing you do is you write, and so I write. So I have so many different poems already that I can make, I can do, I probably can put together, 3 or 4 books.
Right.
But, it's getting the right stuff and putting it together right. But I'm hoping that in the first part of next year, I should be able to put that second one out.
Okay, that'll be great. Something to definitely look forward to. I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Give us, cite, I don't know if you want to do it from out of here, but cite one of your poetry and tell us what it means to you and why you chose that particular one. And you can think about it for a second, but I just want to hear you do some of your work.
Okay. I'll do this one, and I'm really, it's a poem that's about 2 people being confronted with an intimate situation.
Okay.
And the reason why I chose this, and the poem is called What If?
Okay.
And the reason why I chose this poem is because I won't say it's my all-time favorite, but I think it gets home to the type of writing that I do, and people can look forward to in my book, along with the consciousness type of poem. But we are in situations right now. We are especially African American people. We about love, and hopefully when 2 people can come together, you think about the different types of situations that may happen when they're confronted with an intimate situation.
Right.
And you ask those questions, the what if question.
Okay.
And so this poem is called What If.
All right, we're going to hear What If from Damon E. Johnson.
Okay. The poems go, what if? What if we gave in to the urgent whispers of our souls and pretended that the 2 of us were one while holding each other like new and anxious lovers? What if we allowed our minds to be consumed by thoughts of freedom as we struggle to justify these feelings that have crept inside our bones? What if we brushed the past off of our shoulders and submitted to our destiny? What if our lips touched as we settled into our nakedness and love prevailed in spite of ourselves?
Wow.
What if we did nothing at all and the moment expired?
Unbelievable. Damon, I like that.
Thank you, thank you,
I
thank you.
definitely like that. Kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Damon, I want to thank you for being on the Wende Neen Show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. And beyond, our history as friends and classmates or whatnot, I just really want to thank you for the opportunity to share in your vision. This is all you. And I want to be able to say that I was there, and I was there. I was on the show, and I had an opportunity to, and she helped promote my book and promote me. But I was there on the actual show, and that means a lot. Especially seeing people doing great things from that we grew up with. And so it's good to have men here. So thank you very much for that.
Well, definitely thank you, and definitely go out and get Rhythm in My Blues. The thing that's interesting about this, as Damon says, we went to high school together. We were in homeroom. We go way back. But the interesting thing about it is that didn't really draw me into you. What drew me in is when I saw your page and I read about what you were doing. So don't think it's just because we know each other and we have history. This actually meant something.
Okay, well, I accept that. I accept that because if that's the case, then I did what I was supposed to do.
It did.
Because
it touched me when I read it, and I'm like, what? And I directly sent that message. I'm like,
and it came through, and I was like,
want him on the show.
I was happy to hear from you. It was great. But that's the thing that I want people to understand. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. Because this writing thing, it's an outlet. It's an outlet, but it's not. It's not. Economically, you're not gonna bust down the doors. But I'm writing, as therapy for me, but also reaching and touch some other people. So if you was drawn in,
I was drawn.
I did what I was supposed to do. It's my job to draw people in and really give them something good. you know, and I think that I think anybody, if anybody that has gotten this book, or anybody that know anything about my poetry can say that I'm on a level with a lot of other people.
Yes.
You know, that's out there, people that they know, famous people.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, and hopefully I can draw those people in. So I want to thank you again for allowing me to be here.
No, thank you. All right, check him out. Go to his website, rhythminmyblues.com. You can also check him out on Facebook, and that would be Damon E. Johnson, and then of course the Damon Johnson. But definitely like his page and pick up a copy. I got mine, and I cherish it. And I want to thank you for watching another episode of the Wende Neen Show. This is how we do it. It is what it is. It is done. Until next time, au revoir. That's my going out music right there.
You gonna bust another move?
You gonna have to bust one right there.
You had to bust a move on camera. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. That's how we do it.
That's how we do it. Break it down. You know, so.
This is awesome. But you say you have a daughter.
Yes. 9 years old.